Okay. Hello, I'm Laura Jones. We have a special program starting in just a few minutes, a live show called Meet the Candidates. Tonight, we are going to be speaking with Congressman Andy Kim. Congressman Andy Kim is running in the U.S. Senate for the primary in the U.S. Senate. We will be joined by a panel of guests here. The seat is currently being held by Senator Bob Menendez, who is facing federal corruption charges. I'm going to be joined by a special panel, including the editor of the New Jersey Globe, David Wildstein, New Jersey Globe reporter Joey Fox, and Micah Rasmussen, the director of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University. Make sure to stay with us. Right now, we're going to take a look at Andy Kim's launch video for his U.S. Senate campaign.
Here we go.
Hi, how are you?
Did you get free to have a seat?
Yes, thanks for coming on in. Hey, nice to meet you too. Thanks for being a part of this. Hey, pleased to meet you. Nice to meet you too. You just grab a seat anywhere.
This is so low.
They are a little low, right? I'm a short guy, so I try to bring it up a little bit. Let me get mine a good spot. I guess I just want to start big picture here. Just ask you all, like, how are you feeling about things in this country right now?
There's so much on my mind.
Yeah.
It's like hard to pick one. I mean, you can go from women's rights to what's happening in the Middle East right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, the world is pretty scary.
What else is on your minds?
It's almost impossible now to live comfortably in New Jersey if you don't have a very high-paying job.
I am from New York, and I am an implant in New Jersey. So yes, I am one of those people. And I'm still like, wait a minute, hold on. I moved from New York to New Jersey to find more money in my budget, but I'm still cutting back.
I have 2 kids to send to college, so I'm wondering, maybe I won't be able to retire, or there's not enough Social Security funding left for me.
I got a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, 2 little boys, 1st grader, 3rd grader, and I worry about that. I'm just like, what in the world is education gonna cost, college gonna cost when they're teenagers?
Exactly.
What went through your mind when you heard about sort of the most recent indictment upon Senator Menendez?
Well, not just that. How many people from New Jersey get in trouble? We're known for...
Right. But I wasn't surprised by it at all, because I feel like there's a lot of corruption in
New Jersey.
in politics.
How did that make you feel when you saw that?
Like a New Jerseyan.
I'm someone that's in politics now, but this is not where I came from. I was a diplomat in national security before. I served out in Afghanistan. I was at the Pentagon. For me, being in public service demands at the highest of standards. And so that's what kind of pushed me. I mean, after he said that he's not resigning, that's when I decided to step up and challenge him. So I am now currently running to be the next United States Senator from New Jersey. And I'll be honest with you, I did not plan for this, but I think I just kind of hit a breaking point. And I feel the same frustration that all of you do about just how entrenched it is, and it just feels like this is just how it is, right? I believe that the opposite of democracy is apathy. It's if you give up, right?
Appreciate your authenticity. You give off this impression that he's sincere, he's honest. I can trust this guy.
I think it's really cool that you come in and meeting people and want to know what Joseph thinks. Nobody cares about what I say. That's nice.
So I think it's refreshing to find somebody that is willing to go to battle to try to make change. It's good.
Like Don Quixote.
Yeah.
Well,
And
hopefully more successful.
Yeah. Way more successful than that.
It's your kids are really little. Why do you want to do this?
I want to do it for them.
What about your family?
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I'm being really honest
No,
with you.
look, I appreciate your honesty. I mean, here's what I'll say is that I look at all the craziness in the world and I look at this and I just say, like, I don't want my kids to grow up in a broken America. Like, I don't want my kids to have to experience this, you know, and so, like.
So you think you can make a change?
Yeah, I do.
Here we go.
Hi.
Hello and welcome to Meet the Candidates. I am Laura Jones, and this is a special opportunity to get to know the people who want to represent you in public office. This evening, we welcome Congressman Andy Kim to our conversation. This is the very first New Jersey Senate debate in the Democratic primary between Congressman Andy Kim and First Lady Tammy Murphy. It's set for Sunday, February 18th. The debate is being conducted by this station on New Jersey, the New Jersey Globe, and Rider University. A debate invitation was extended to both Andy Kim and Tammy Murphy for February 4th tonight. Mr. Kim accepted, but Ms. Murphy was unavailable. Both candidates were told the debate would proceed if one agreed to participate, so that's why we have Congressman Andy Kim here tonight to discuss his candidacy. Again, both candidates agreed to debate on February 18th here. So let's meet our panel. We have Micah Rasmussen. He is the director of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University. He has more than 2 decades of experience in New Jersey in politics. He's an adjunct professor of political science and also served as press secretary to former Governor Jim McGreevey. Joey Fox is a political reporter for the New Jersey Globe. He covers New Jersey's congressional delegation in Washington, D.C. And rounding out the panel, David Wildstein, who is the editor of the New Jersey Globe, which is the state's go-to resource for political news throughout the state. He's been involved in New Jersey politics for more than 5 decades and is the dean of the New Jersey Press Corps. Tonight, though, Congressman Andy Kim is in the spotlight. He is running for the U.S. Senate here in New Jersey, a seat currently held by Senator Bob Menendez, who is facing federal corruption charges. Congressman Kim represents the 3rd Congressional District in South Jersey. He was first elected in 2018 and is currently in his 3rd term. Congressman Kim is also the first Democratic member of Congress of Korean descent. Congressman Kim, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
It is our pleasure. So we're going to get right into the panel. I'm going to first go to David Wildstein with one of his questions for you, Mr. Kim. David Wildstein, over to you.
Congressman, you called for Senator Menendez's resignation hours after the Justice Department unsealed its indictment of him, and then you announced your candidacy the next day. Shouldn't people have the presumption of innocence when they're facing charges?
Yeah, I think about this a lot, David. So thanks for starting with this. I was not planning to run for Senate. This was not something I was planning on doing. But I remember after I read the indictment of the senator, I just felt just this deep disappointment. And it wasn't just at the senator. I feel like we're just living in a time where so many of those in politics are just letting us down and just disappointing us constantly. And that night, after the indictment, I didn't get a single minute of sleep that night. I was just up all night just trying to figure out, what does this mean going forward? We live in the time of the greatest amount of distrust in government in modern American history. And, here in New Jersey, 84% of people surveyed believe that their politicians are corrupt. And I think that poses such a deep and existential threat to our democracy. So look, everyone has the right to be able to have the presumption of innocence and have their time in court, have the judicial system proceed in that way. But it doesn't mean that you get to stay in these jobs of such consequence in our government. I work a job. The senator works a job. We work jobs whose job descriptions are in the Constitution of the United States. That should be a deeply humbling experience, and it should push all of us that have the honor of this job to be able to hold ourselves at the highest level of standards. And that means we also need to be held to the highest level of accountability. He is someone who was the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And a lot of these allegations are specific about his job, about whether or not he did things that were in the best interest of our country, and that was related to other nations. That raises real questions about his capacity to be able to stay in this job. He is being charged with an indictment about being a foreign agent. I believe that merits him to be able to step down, focus on his legal proceedings, and allow New Jersey to move forward. So that's why it was that I felt like if he said he's not going to resign and step down, that I'm going to step up.
All right, we're going to move over to Micah Rasmussen. Micah, you have the floor now for a question.
I wanted to bounce a couple of things off of you that we're hearing throughout the campaign and as we approach these conventions, questions about the organization lines. I hope you won't mind. I'm going to give you a chance to respond to some things that we're hearing. The first one is, why should those who have used the line, why party leaders, parties, party organizations support someone who wants to take it away from them?
Well, look, what I'll say is right now, the main thing ahead of us is about the credibility of our democracy. I spent so much of my time as a Democrat in Congress working to protect our democracy, trying to make sure we're doing everything we can to ensure that the people are in the driver's seat of their democracy. And here in New Jersey, you're right, we have a very particular system when it comes down to it. And we're seeing that system right now in its worst form. We're seeing an effort right now that is really weaponizing it, and it shows just how it can be manipulated. And something that is allows people to put their thumb on the scale of our elections and making it harder for us to have a sense of fairness. So I think that's what it really comes down to is fairness. I understand some of the benefits that could have come from this in terms of trying to make sure we have a certain level of quality of candidates and whatnot. But I think the cons of this significantly outweigh the pros, especially as we're seeing right now, again, probably one of the worst manipulations of this effort that I can remember. So I think that's something that I hope people look at, is that there are many ways to make the Democratic Party strong. I'm somebody that's worked to be able to help support the party. I helped flip the House of Representatives, help the Democrats get back in control of the House of Representatives. I've supported and worked to build up candidates and the party here in my home county, across my congressional district, and the state. But that's, the organizational line, that's not the only way in which you can promote a party. And in fact, I think the party will grow stronger if it is a party that is more inclusive, bringing in more and more people, being able to have the kind of coalition that we need. And we see that in 49 other states where they're able to build strong parties, have really strong level of candidates, be able to move forward, but have a more fair and open process. So I think that, especially on the heels of this indictment of the senator, we have to show that we're changing. We have to show that we are taking steps to be able to ensure that our politics is one that has that sense of public service at its core, and that is what's driving it. So I do believe that these types of steps are not meant to, the efforts to try to move beyond this, to have these reforms, it's not meant to hold back the party. In fact, it's meant to move the party forward, make it stronger than ever, make our politics in New Jersey stronger than ever.
Is that the line that you draw between the times that you've run on the line versus now? Is it being used differently than when you've run before on the line?
Well, look, when I started, I was the only candidate in the Democratic primary. But look, what I'll say is certainly my experience of having now run 3 times in office, it has given me a sense of just how problematic this can be. And I see how we have a situation where where we often don't even have candidates that kind of stay on to the primary election because they don't feel like there's even a chance for them because they don't get the line. So we're missing out on opportunities to be able to hear from people. So yes, my experience, a couple years in politics, I'm seeing this more and more, and I've become more and more convinced that this is something that needs to be changed and reformed. And certainly in this situation, again, I've never seen anything this crazy. I've never seen anything, go this far in terms of the manipulation of the county line, and how it has certainly been tried to use in a way to try to determine the outcome of this election. So yes, those are all elements that have led me to come to this conclusion. But look, I even said, and I know Joey's on here, I talked to him even before I knew that Senator Menendez was going to get indicted, before I threw my name in for this election, certainly before I knew that the First Lady was going to jump into this race. So this is something that I came to the conclusion on, just based off of what I've seen over the last couple of years, and what I think that the state needs going forward to make the democracy stronger here in New Jersey.
How about the push poll that we saw, testing words like deceitful, carpetbagger, what was the other one? Opportunist. What do you think? What do you make out of that?
Yeah, I've heard those lines before. I've heard them in my 2018 race when Republican super PACs were, trying to say that, I'm not, I'm not somebody that has, New Jersey in my mind, and saying that, what is my qualifications to represent this district. I never expected to see that being tested from another Democratic campaign against me. And I think that that's really shameful, honestly. I hope it's not something that moves forward, because look, we can have differences of policy, but when it comes down to it, look, it's my whole kindergarten through 12 in the public school system of the congressional district I now represent. I now have a first grader and a third grader, two little boys that are growing up and going to the public schools right here in my town. My parents worked here. Both of them had jobs here. Both of them are retired now and living here. It's just like, this is my home. This is the only home. And, the only other times that I've been away from here, from New Jersey, is going off to study in college and university, and then serving my nation. So yes, there were periods of time when I was not in New Jersey, but I was serving my country. I was serving my country at the White House, at the State Department, at the Pentagon. I was out in Afghanistan, and trust me, I would have loved to have been back in New Jersey rather than out in Afghanistan. But I felt like it was the right thing to do. And if anyone tries to penalize me or tries to criticize me for not being here in New Jersey when I'm serving my country or going off and trying to get an education, which is something that we should be lifting up, then that is, shame on them if that's something that they are trying to push for. So look, we all love this state. It has given us so much. So let's cut that out. Let's get down to the policies, get down to figure out who is best able to represent, instead of going down these paths that just lead us to have the same talking points that Republican super PACs have tried against me for 3 races in 6 years, and the Republicans lost every single one of them. People are smarter than just the worst vestiges of these disgusting attacks, and I hope that doesn't come into this race.
One last thing to bounce off of you. I apologize to jump in. Mrs. Murphy's supporters say she has an ability to raise virtually unlimited amounts of money. What do you say to those in the party who say that's an asset the party should not turn away?
Well, look, that's interesting. That's what you're hearing. Look, this is a United States Senate seat, and we are living through an unbelievably chaotic time in our world right now. We got wars abroad. We got tensions between the United States and China. We have domestic turmoil, unlike anything I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, as someone who was at the Capitol compound on January 6th, I'm worried about where things are going. So I hope when people are thinking about who's the best candidate to send forward to the United States Senate in this insanely crazy moment in American history, I hope that the first thing that they're thinking about in terms of qualifications, I hope it's not about money. That would be very disappointing. I mean, there's so much that we need to get done. We need somebody with experience, someone who's ready to step in on day one, someone who understands the magnitude of what we're facing and has been battle tested. We need someone who in the general election who knows how to win races, knows how to beat Republicans, has been on that ballot. I hope people see that. But look, if they want to get into a back and forth in terms of fundraising, I mean, look, I'm one of the best fundraisers in the country in the House of Representatives. I've raised over $25 million in 7 years that I've been in politics. I've raised, at this point, over $3 million on this Senate race. So I can go toe to toe in terms of the fundraising if that's what people want to do, but it's not the only qualification. Yes, it's important to get the message out. But if we think that one of the three statewide, because we only have 3 statewide positions in New Jersey, if we think that the qualification for those 3 jobs, that is first and foremost is about political connections or capacity to be able to put in their own money or fundraise, I hope that we are looking at this differently. And I certainly know that the people in New Jersey that I talk to, regular people that I'm engaging at all these different events, they understand what's at stake. They know the significance of this job. So yes, I'm happy to be someone that can be a strong supporter of the Democratic Party. I'm happy if I have the great privilege to be able to raise resources and make sure that our party is strong. But I hope people look at this in terms of who is actually going to be able to serve this state with the magnitude and the credibility and the experience that is needed.
Micah, thank you. Let's move on to Joey Fox of the New Jersey Globe. You have the floor now.
Yeah, so, sorry. So, Congressman, I think that when First Lady Murphy entered the campaign, a frequent question that people asked her, including myself, was, well, Congressman Kim has already been in this campaign for whatever it had been at that point, a month and a half. Why you? Why are you running? Why not him? Why not just support the congressman who's already in the race? And I kind of want to turn that question around on you a little bit and ask, well, why not First Lady Murphy? What do you bring to this race that she doesn't? Why is she not the person who should just be able to take this seat, as a lot of people in New Jersey politics want her to do?
Yeah, thanks, Joey. Great question. I hit on a little bit of it. Look, you see me in the halls of Congress. I worked with you down there at the Capitol. You see that I've had the experience, that I've taken, hundreds, if not thousands of votes for this state. I'm somebody that's a 3-term member of Congress. I am the only career diplomat in Congress right now at a time of grave national security issues. I'm somebody that has worked extensively building the relationships there at the Capitol, but also understanding how to be able to maneuver to be able to pass the legislation that we need. So I'm the only declared candidate that has actually served in government office, served in both the executive branch and the legislature. I've served this country every minute of my career, and I hope to do so for every minute of my career. So I think that people see me as a public servant. I've been my entire life. And I think that stands out. I think it stands in contrast with the First Lady. I think it stands in contrast in a number of different ways. In terms of my ability to step in ready day one at a time of magnitude where we have so much going on. Also, look, I'm the only, I've run and won 3 races. The First Lady, this is her first race where she's on the ballot. So I not only that, but I'm a Democrat that won districts that Trump won. And twice, Trump won the congressional district in 2020 on the same ballot that I did. I outperformed Joe Biden by 8 points to be able to win this district. So I can guarantee you that I can win this in November. And I think the Democrats should put forward the candidate that's going to be the strongest, the strongest in the general election, and the person that can be most ready for the job in that direction. So, in that capacity of having been a public servant, been a battle-tested candidate, have the experience as a 3-term member of Congress, but also, look, I've been a lifelong, at least as long as I've been able to register, a Democrat. People know what I stand for, and they know what it is that I've done. It's not just, you don't have to take my word on it. You've seen my votes, that I'm a Democrat in a Trump district that still made sure that I'm voting to be able to secure women's reproductive rights by passing the Women's Health Protection Act, about making sure we're standing up to fight climate change with the largest investment to fight climate change in our nation's history with the Inflation Reduction Act. Also, making sure I take some steps that are protecting our democracy, even if that means standing up to the former president. I'm in a district that Trump won twice, but I voted to impeach him twice. Because, yes, that might not have been maybe the best thing for my political career, but it is the best thing and the right thing for the country. So that's what I hope people have seen. And I think the First Lady is going to have to explain a lot about why she was a lifelong Republican until 2014, just a few years ago, what her actual views are on different issues, because I don't know them. And also, why she donated to so many Republican candidates. Many of them, many of them oppose a women's right to choose, women's abortion rights, climate change efforts in a number of different ways. So look, this campaign will be a time where she will have to explain that, but people know where I stand. So I think that's those are some of the biggest differences and why I think that I can be the strongest candidate this November.
So one thing that the First Lady has said in sort of explaining her own lack of past electoral experience is, well, people in New Jersey are sick of Washington right now. I mean, look at what Washington's producing. We don't need more of that. The obvious implication being, you're a 3-term congressman. The first time that you won, it was on the same ballot as Bob Menendez. Do you think that's a fair thing for her to say? What's your response to that?
Yeah, that's interesting. So that's what she's been saying. She's saying that I'm Washington. Look, I think it kind of gets back to what I said earlier to Micah's question, is that I've been a public servant my whole career. And I would hope that someone who's running for the United States Senate respects public service. Not everyone down in D.C. is Ted Cruz. Not everyone down in D.C. is Marjorie Taylor Greene. There are a lot of good public servants that have been serving our nation. A lot of them in D.C., a lot of them all abroad in the same way that I was. I spent some time in D.C., I spent some time abroad serving our nation. That is not Washington. I just think, don't paint some broad brush against that goes after every single public servant in our country, just because, yes, we do have some people in D.C. that are trying to put their own ambitions, their own egos ahead of what's right for the country. Yes, there are some that we, of course, were deeply disappointed. But don't judge the entirety of our government and our public service by the worst of us. So look, what I'll just say is that when I decided what I wanted to do with my life, there was nothing I wanted to do more than serve this country. And I made that decision very early on. I'm proud of the career that I had. And if the First Lady is trying to insinuate that makes me out of touch or whatnot, I have to say that I find that to be offensive, that we should be trying to encourage people to go into public service. We should be encouraging good, smart, thoughtful people instead of trying to demonize, just the prospects and saying that, people who enter public service are out of touch with the rest of America. And as I said, yes, I served my country and I was proud of it. But when I wanted to start a family, I moved back here to New Jersey, where I grew up, the community that raised me, because it's an amazing place to raise a family. So yes, but I hope the voters are smart. I hope the voters are thoughtful enough to see through that type of argument and see that as the kind of the kind of horrible attacks that we see in politics constantly, that are just trying to brush over the reality of this and trying to attack people's character. Again, we can talk to policies, but I don't think anyone should question my commitment to this country, as well as my commitment to this state. And I hope people appreciate public servants rather than denigrate them.
Okay, David Wildstein, you're next with another question for the Congressman.
Thanks. I know debate questions will come in 2 weeks. So let me ask a different kind of question. Congressman, states have had different kinds of U.S. senators over the years. There are intellectuals, there's regular guys, there's workhorses, there's show horses, there are those who are quiet and unassuming, senators who are loud and boisterous, people who dream of becoming president, those with more modest ambitions. So if you get there, what kind of senator do you want to be?
Yeah, that's a really good question, David. What I think I'd just like to say is I want to be me. I want to do it on my terms. I remember when I talked to my wife when I first was running for the House of Representatives, and when I actually got elected, we had a conversation, and I said that I want to change the job. I don't want to have the job change me. You know, I see the broken politics that are there, and there's a lot of pressure on members of Congress to conform to those approaches, to just think about your day in terms of how much money you can raise or how many Twitter followers you can get and get in the next viral video or tweet. But, you know, that's not me. You know, I just want to be a public servant. I try to treat this job actually no differently than every other job I had in government. I try to think about it as my job at the State Department or elsewhere, because I swore the same oath, the same oath that I swore before I went off to Afghanistan or when I started up at the White House is the same oath that I swore when I got into Congress. And that's going to be the same oath that I swear if I have the great honor of being able to be in the United States Senate. So the job isn't changing. It's public service. Now, I get it. People want politics to be different or politicians talk about it differently. But that's part of the problem. So, I mean, look, what I'll say is that I've been in Congress now for over 5 years. I will be in the Senate the same way that I've been in the House, which is someone that tries to approach this job with deep rigor, that's interested in substance, not slogans. That's someone who wants to be a workhorse, not a show horse. Someone that has done 71 town halls in 5 years in Congress. Someone who wants to be the most accessible member of Congress and hopefully the most accessible senator in the country. You know, someone who people can feel that deep connection to. But also, I want to be somebody that, yes, you know, I may not vote 100% in line with every single person in New Jersey, of course, in terms of what they would want. But I want to be a senator that nobody has to ever question why they're doing the job and what is going on in their minds when they're taking votes. I don't want anyone to ever question or have to worry or wonder whether I'm putting my own personal benefit, my ego or my ambition ahead of what's right for the state of New Jersey or the United States of America. So that's something that I can assure people is at the top of the list of what I hope to do differently. Is I want to be a person of integrity, of credibility, a public servant in that right. I hope I've shown people that in my time, in my last 6 years, but also my career before that. And that's who I am. And I hope people see that for what it is. You know, I'm a father just trying to do what's right for my 2 kids, to give them the kind of America that I want them to grow up in. I will never lose sight of that. My kids are what I call my North Star. I calibrate everything in my life about what's going to make their lives better. And, you know, I don't ever want to lose sight of it. I don't ever want to become the politician I never wanted to be. I just want to serve.
David, did you have a follow-up?
No, I think we're good because we promised Congressman Kim we'd do a shortened version tonight, and then 2 weeks from tonight, a 90-minute debate. So we'll keep our endurance going.
Right, and so Congressman, one of the things I wanted to give you just some final thoughts as we wrap up the show, and you know, even just kind of reflecting on some of these questions and looking at your campaign ad that we ran as well, your announcement, you know, talking about building a better place, making New Jersey an amazing place to raise your family, and your family seems very central to your campaign and these values. So as we come to a close, what are some final thoughts you might want to share, not just with the panel, but for people watching you, so they can really understand who Andy Kim is, not just the politician or the guy running for U.S. Senate. Who is this man, this father, this guy who grew, this Jersey guy who went to school here and served his country?
Yeah. No, thank you. And I have to say thank you to the panel. Thank you to you for moderating. And, you know, thank you for the thoughtful questions. I do think I was able to, you know, hopefully show voters who I am, because that is so important right now. You know, it's not just about better policies. It's about a better politics, about trying to heal this country. After January 6th in particular, and after just so much of the craziness that I've seen in my couple years in Congress, I am dedicating the rest of my life to this singular question of how do we heal this country? And I have to believe we can. I know it feels so intractable sometimes. And I know that people feel it can be so helpless, like the problems are so grave. But, you know, as someone who's worked in government before, I've seen the power that some public servants can do to be able to change the course of this country for the better. It takes people to step up. I really think this is such a consequential moment in our nation's history. I think there's so much at stake right now. I've often said I believe that the next 4 to 5 years in this country are going to shape the next 4 to 5 decades of this country. And if the voters, if you are feeling the same way, if you feel that same anxiety right now, you want somebody and you deserve somebody who is going to make the best use of their time in the United States Senate. If the next 4 to 5 years shape the next 4 to 5 decades, that is all fits within the first term of the senator that you will select in November. I hope to be someone that can take and squeeze every second out of those 6 years and try to meet this moment of consequence and try to do it from a place of humility, of empathy, of service, to try to take this moment on. I cannot guarantee you I will be able to fix it all. But what I can tell you is I'm going to give it everything I got. And yes, you know, I talk a lot about my kids because, as I said, everything revolves around them. Yes, I'm talking to you as a candidate for the United States Senate. Yes, I'm talking to you as a 3-term member of Congress. But to the voters who are watching this, I hope what you take away from this is that I'm a father that's just trying to do everything I can to be able to give my kids a future they deserve. America is not on the kind of trajectory that I want it to be. I do not feel confident in what kind of America they'll grow up in. So this is my way of trying to deliver. For you, your kids, your grandkids, our families across New Jersey and across this country. So thank you for giving me a chance to tell you a little bit more about who I am. I hope you pay attention to this race. I hope you look very closely at the different candidates. And I would be humbled and honored if I could get the vote of people here in my state that I love so much. If you'd like to learn more, you can go to andykim.com and join our efforts as we go around for these next 4 months into the primary to try to build something really extraordinary here in the state. So thank you so very much to all of you for having me.
Right. And we thank you so much for taking the time to join us, Andy Kim. Thank you so much. And we thank you, our audience, for joining us on Meet the Candidates. And I would be remiss if I did not thank our panel, David, Micah, and Joey. We appreciate what you all brought to the table, and we want to bring you more programming like this where you have an opportunity to hear from the people looking to represent you, candidates from both sides of the aisle. So make sure you join us on Sunday, February 18th at 8 o'clock, live for the first U.S. Senate primary debate between Congressman Andy Kim and First Lady Tammy Murphy. I'm Laura Jones. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you then.